So the book of Hebrews sets out to argue one thing. Jesus is better. Jesus is a better moral example than other examples that we've had in history because Jesus' actions and way of life led to more peace and compassion and love in the world. Jesus offers us a better way of life than maybe other narratives out there because he allows us a way to be free and to be happy and joyful regardless of our circumstances, right? So there are other narratives out there that seem to connect happiness with having more material wealth or having a better position in life, but Jesus came in and said, no, you can be happy and you can be joyful regardless of how much or how little you have. I have a path for you to have ultimate happiness that's rooted in God Himself and not other circumstances. And ultimately, Jesus is a better way to connect with God than other ways that people have tried to do to connect with God. And it makes sense, right? Jesus comes from God and He is God, so it makes a lot of sense that He's going to know the best and only path back to God. And Jesus said that path is through the gospel. This idea that Jesus comes from God, that He lived this awesome life, awesome and perfect life, died on the cross and ultimately rose from the dead so that whoever believes in Him and trusts in Him will be reconnected with God forever. So Hebrews argues that Jesus is better. Now the problem is we live in a world where a lot of people aren't convinced that Jesus is better, right? I mean, a lot of people offer up different narratives and say, no, this is a better way of life, or this is a better belief system. So what do you do in a world like that? So there are a lot of attempts and a lot of different ways that people go about that. Some ways are a little more forceful, a little more bold, a little more strong than others. There are other ways where people are like, oh, that's good for you, but this is good for me. But what does the Bible kind of have to say about that? And I think Hebrews offers up a really good example in Jesus Christ. You see, Jesus lived this amazing, compassionate life where all His actions reflected in what He was saying. They mirrored each other. So whatever Jesus was saying, He was proving through His actions, and He ultimately proved that on the cross by dying for us and showing that God loves us and has compassion on us. And so I think that's an awesome example for us as we live in this world where people aren't quite convinced that Jesus is better, that Jesus is Lord, that we need to make sure that our actions are really reflecting what we're saying. Like for instance, Hebrews says that it says to be free of love of money because we know that Jesus will never leave us and never forsake us. And so the Christian ethic in regards to money is that we're not trying to hoard a whole bunch of it. Instead, we want to be generous with it and give it away because we know that God takes care of us. So I want you to go about this week, and I don't want you to really reflect on this fact that Jesus is better. And think to yourself, what does that mean for me in regards to my finances, in regards to my relationships, and the way that I relate to my friends and neighbors? Just make sure that your actions and what you're saying are really representative of the Christian life and of the Christian ethic. I love you, and I'm praying for you. I just go forth this week and know that Jesus is King.